I'm Karilyn Sanders, and I'm a portrait photographer. We met at the YMCA. We were both working there at the time. I was a gymnastics teacher, and he was a random Y employee that, you know, keeps all the kids in line and stuff. And so my co-teacher went to college with him. And so he came over to talk to his guy that he knew and started, you know, sort of flirting with me or whatever. So that's how we first met.
My name is Melvin Sanders. I'm a field leader at Enjoy Technology. We are a company that's an e-commerce platform. Essentially, if you purchase a device, iPad, iPhone, GoPro camera, we're going to bring it to you. So it could be your home, your office. We're going to bring it with an expert. They're going to spend an hour with you, helping you set it up, showing you how to use your device. Essentially kind of eliminating the learning curve, and it's free to the customer. So if you purchase through us, then it's free to have that brought to you wherever you want it, and free to have the expert show you how to set it up and use it. So we worked together in Kansas. I went to college in her hometown, and we worked at the Y together and met working together. I actually was kind of familiar with her family. Her grandparents were pretty involved in my school, and knew a little bit about her family, but didn't realize that she was connected to that family. So I just saw her at work every day. Eventually went in and spoke to her, and then kind of put the rest of the pieces together. So this is kind of funny because she doesn't really remember, like, I don't think the first time that we actually saw each other. So she worked in gymnastics at the Y. I was like what they call a rover. I just kind of was all over the place, keep kids from fighting, like put the towels away, all that kind of stuff, just like a typical college kid job. And so I would see her like when she'd come clock in every day. And so I just remember like, man, this girl's cute. Like I need to talk to her at some point. But it was probably weeks before, maybe even months before we even, really spoke. It was just like I'd see her every day. And her personality, I think, is more that she wouldn't really notice the fact that I'm paying attention. But yeah, I just remember thinking this girl's really cute, didn't know anything about her. And at some point was just like, I need to go talk to her. I don't remember, I think at some point we went to Oklahoma City together, which is my hometown. And so I think that would technically be like our official first date, but I don't know if I could put a specific date on it.
He's very easy to bring home to the parents, just very respectful, and I didn't really have to worry about that. I think it was a little bit awkward for them at first because, I never brought a black guy home before, but besides that, it was fine.
I feel like it was toward kind of the end of the summer. And for me, and I was like a little nervous because she was 17, I was 21, which I guess isn't a huge, looking back at it now, it seems like nothing at this age, but my parents were aware that I was dating her. The other side was completely fine because I already had a relationship with her grandparents and her parents. They were all for it. And it wasn't I'm afraid for her to meet my parents because of what they'll say. My family's just kind of crazy. I knew that my uncle would be ribbing her and trying to crack jokes. My mom is, she was super religious, and so she's just, at the time, was incredibly judgmental of a lot of my brother's relationships. But I felt that was a thing that needed to happen. And I think that, they met at the end of the summer at some point when we went to Oklahoma. But once we broke up, that time in between, I think, really kind of helped cultivate that relationship before we got back together.
We definitely share a love of music. I came from the classical side, and he came from the jazz side genre. So I remember him actually bringing his saxophone over to my house when I was in high school, and him playing along with some jazz stuff, and my mother obviously loved that. My family's a huge musician family. They're both music teachers, choir directors, band teacher, you name it. this weekend we literally went to a handbell festival together, me and my parents, and we're doing the whole, music thing. So that's huge. And so that was an instant thing that we had in common, was music.
For us, we've just always thought it's really important for us to have our own individual interests. And, Karilyn, when we met, she wanted to be a music teacher at a high school. Now she's a photographer. And I actually remember there was a point when she came to me and was like, I'm changing my major. What do you think of this? And I'm like, it's your life. I can't tell you what's going to make you happy. You have to do what you want to pursue, and that's got to be independent of what I think. Now, obviously, as a married couple, there's still decisions we have to make together. I can't just take a job and move across the country without making sure that that's the right move for both of us. But individually, I think that we've both been really intent on making sure that the other has their own life, their own interests, their own friends, and passions, separate of the relationship, which I think actually, in a lot of ways, just brings us together.
So important for people to have outside interests. I've been in both types of relationships where your whole sense of togetherness is just each other, and you don't have separate lives really. It's just way too intense, and those are basically doomed to fail because we all change. Someone's gonna change in another way, and it just kind of falls apart. So I love that Melvin and I have separate interests, and I think it's also important for each other to give each other permission to change in life, and that's really the only way it's going to be sustainable. We keep surprising each other with, oh, I'm super into hiking now, or oh, I really like this other thing, and it keeps it interesting because you learn so much more about the person when you can see them being passionate about different things throughout their life. And I love that we have separate interests too, because he can go off to California for work for a couple weeks and I can just chill, and we both have different experiences, and then you can come back together and tell each other what was this like for you, and what did you learn, and what was really fun, and maybe we can do this together sometime. So it keeps life interesting.
I feel like a lot of the advice has probably come through observation.
That's true. We have a lot of great examples of positive relationships in our lives, and so we observe a lot of different things, and we like to talk about that. After we hang out with a really cool couple, we like to observe the cool things that they do interacting with each other and things we aspire to.
I think the advice that I don't know who this would have come from, but I do remember being encouraged to spend time around other positive couples. Something that I see a lot, not even just in marriage relationships, just friendships, dating relationships, any type of relationship. You really do become a product of what you spend a lot of time with. You absorb that energy. And so as a married couple, if we're spending all of our time with couples that are just not in a good place, we're gonna end up not in a good place. If we spend all of our time with other couples that are thriving, they're growing, they're trying to develop and move to new levels, we're probably gonna benefit from some of that as well, which I think that's something that's been really important to us, is making sure that we're very protective of the energy that we let into our lives.
Yeah.
And so if we're around people that are very negative, we're gonna limit that. Not necessarily gonna just say, hey, we're not gonna hang out with you, but we're gonna be very cautious of the time that we spend with negativity in general.
Yeah, that's definitely made a huge impact on us, I think. We've learned a lot about this through our relationship, how we each deal with conflict. I think we kind of have opposite approaches sometimes. Sometimes I just want to end it and time out. And I maybe refuse to talk sometimes.
And I want to talk through it.
Yeah, I'm an internal processor and he's an external processor. He needs conversation and, thinking out loud.
I think it's not really it doesn't necessarily matter which approach you take. I think it's just really important for a couple to understand what the other's style is. And so I think that was like the piece for us. I don't know, probably, what would you say, maybe 4 or 5 years in, which it's a process, right? So like we started to figure out, oh, this is, I want to continue to talk, but she needs to internalize this and think about it. And then she also realized that, oh, he needs to like actually vocalize this and work through it that way. And so I think individually we've both tried to adapt a little bit more to the other style, and it's been so much easier to just like understand, okay, this is why she's doing this. It's not because she doesn't want to talk to me, or in her case, this is why he's trying to have a conversation right now. Just makes it a lot easier to understand the other's perspective, I think. One of the worst for me, I think, is like when you get married, like you can't go out and do anything anymore, right? So like I had a friend from high school come in town the other night. He gets here at like 10:30. We go out till 2 in the morning. I don't have to worry about Karilyn being concerned about that. Like that's just never been an issue for us, and vice versa. I think that for us, that's probably like that's the first one that comes to mind for me. It's like we still live our lives. Like we still are able to do things. It's not like you get married and you just have to be at home by 7 p.m. every night to check in.
Yeah,
that's just not. It's not
the idea of being like shackled to each other, and
right.
You can't do anything without the other's permission.
Yeah.
They were different, but also still pretty similar.
Yeah.
He was also very involved in church growing up.
Mm-hmm.
His mom was a great Christian woman. So we had that base as a good foundation. So, I mean, there were differences. You were in the city, and I was in a really small town.
Not
so
the city.
We have sort of different worldviews from that perspective. You were around a lot of diversity,
mm-hmm.
and I was around a lot of the same.
She's around a lot of white people.
Yeah.
Growing up.
I don't know, but I think the fact that they were different also helped us kind of branch out when we were deciding like where to live.
Right.
And because we've lived in cities, we've lived in my hometown in Kansas, we've kind of done it all, so we're very well-rounded, I guess.
I think we've also we've been very interested in other people. Like we've always been like we had the way that we were raised, both like Christian foundations, but we've always been interested in like other cultures, other people. And so I think that, even though I was from a big city or medium-sized city, she's from a small town, there wasn't a lot of adjustment that had to be made because we're both like pretty interested in getting to know things outside of who we are.
We both like traveling.
Yeah.
We had both traveled to Asia and Europe separately.
Yeah.
So we knew that we had that in common too.
Yep.
I love his core personality. It is just optimistic about life and really easygoing. I love that he's easy to be around and easy to take to like all my friends like him, my parents like him, my grandparents like him, my cousins love him, like my family loves him more than they love me sometimes. I'll go home to visit and the first question is, "Where's Melvin?" And I'm like, "Cool, I'm here." Love you guys too.
She's so laid back and forgiving. She's incredibly easy to get along with, which sounds like kind of a cop-out answer, but it's really hard to explain, just how, a lot of people talk about the difficulty of marriage and how hard it is to make work, and when I hear people say that, I just kind of like nod. And I'm like, actually, no, it's like really easy for me. Like, I can be a complete idiot. I can say something stupid. But she just has a really great way of communicating and allowing, once the day passes, moving on and being like, you know what, like you did something stupid, but I still love you. Like that doesn't change. And so it never feels like, something lingers past the day. And like I said, I think we both have really easygoing personalities, and it just makes it really easy to be around her, really easy to get along with, and really easy to love.
If there was a glue that your relationship was made out of, what would it be made out of?
There's a glue that your relationship is made.
What would that glue be?
A lot of change, I think. Like
Yeah.
allowing each other to change and explore, but
Yeah.
still being committed to each other and
Yeah.
getting to know each other, who you are today, you know? I may be different than I was yesterday, but
Right.
still being interested in how each other's growing and learning.